you feel about love? Anybody? No? Well, do you remember when Jesus was going around during his ministry and somebody asked him, what is the greatest commandment? What did Jesus say? Come on, guys. Love God with all your heart, mind, and strength, right? But then he added, without being asked, the second commandment, which was the second most important commandment, which is love your neighbor by yourself. Love, 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 love. Love God, love one another, right? So, in fact, it's out of love we were created. It's out of love that God created creation. And so, fundamentally, love is the foundation of our faith. This is important. That's why we're talking about it. So, what is this love? What does society say? We listen to those songs, and I was writing some of these words down. Love is crazy. It's about infatuation. It's twisted. It's sexual. It's obsessive. It's demented. Destructive. Is that what love is? Actually, when you get at the heart of it, the way society describes love, it's about ourselves. It's about feeling good. And it's, you don't love unless you get this warm feeling. And in fact, there's actually, in the Greek, there's actually 3 different words that describe love. And the first is eros, which is a romantic love. And that's actually when, at least in society, you think about love, it's that attraction to another person. It's that feel good, that makes you feel good. And if you focus only on how well you feel good, eros love, especially in marriage, is actually a wonderful thing. But you can let it go too far if you're focused on yourself, then you're really focused on the wrong thing. And you run the risk of objectifying the other person. The second form of love is filial love, and that's sort of like a brotherly love friendship. And the way that that manifests itself is with your siblings or your friends, you share a common interest, and so that's what unites you. That's a better form of love, perhaps, but that's not the best form of love. Agape love is the best form of love. It's unconditional. It's self-sacrificing. And it's really focused completely on the good of the other. So, do we have an example of a perfect agape love? Who would that be? Jesus, that's right, Jesus. And what made, how would you describe that self-sacrificing love that Jesus showed us and shows us? And actually, we come up with maybe 4 characteristics, and these are very important to remember because you can use it as a yardstick when you're looking at love in a relationship to see if it's true love. Total, free, fruitful, and faithful. Again, total, free, fruitful, and faithful. Okay, so what does that mean? Take Jesus, for example. Total. Committing himself totally. I mean, how did Jesus commit himself totally to loving us? Died on the cross. Okay? He was all in. Gave himself completely. Free. He gave freely. He wasn't being coerced, but rather he came down and out of love for his Father, he completely and freely gave of himself. It was fruitful. His love for us is fruitful. How is it fruitful? Anybody? How is Jesus' love for us fruitful? Well, he died on the cross for our salvation, and so he loved us into eternity with him, right? That's pretty fruitful, and brought many people to God. And you look at the billions around the world today that are Christians, and that's pretty fruitful. And finally, faithful. Jesus was tempted in the desert by the devil, right? He didn't choose to go that way. He stayed faithful to his Father, even amid all that temptation. So, total, free, fruitful, and faithful. Now, what about examples in our life here today. How do you experience this sort of love in your life every day? Well, you can think about two different kinds of relationships, or two different examples. Think about our priests. Think about Father Jason. Do you see an agape love in him for all of us and for God? Is it total? Is it free? Is it fruitful? Is it faithful? Well, sure, total. He's given himself totally to his ministry. Okay? He doesn't have any side jobs and does this as a part-time job. But he's given himself totally to us and totally to God. And he's done it freely. Now, I don't think anybody held a gun to his head to become a priest, right? He heard a calling from God, and he's giving himself freely. Fruitful. His ministry, his teachings are drawing us all closer to God. And he's faithful. He's focused just on this ministry and not on devil worship. At least I don't think he's doing that. And so we see it there in our priests, in the priesthood. And then finally, marriage. Okay? And you guys have experienced this, you're not married, so I don't think anybody here is married. But you're all children, we are all children of our parents. And so we see this sort of agape love in marriage. How do your parents, and we see it a couple different ways. We see it in the self-sacrifice that they do for one another and their family and you guys, and they also do it. They also show this love through eros love or romance, right? Where they give to each other complete, in what we call conjugal love, which is the conjugal act, which is sex, which has two purposes. It's for uniting them to one another, and it is to be procreative. In other words, to have children, to love life into being, which is why we're all here. Okay, and so again, total, free, fruitful, and faithful. And if we talk about conjugal love inside of marriage, total is that the man and the woman give of themselves totally. They don't hold anything back from one another. Free is freely given to one another. They don't. One doesn't coerce the other into doing something that they don't want to do. And fruitful, of course. That's why we're here. It's to have children. The conjugal love is intended to be fruitful. And that's why, for example, if the church has the stand that it does on contraception, if we're using contraception, then we're not making for the possibility of fruitfulness. So then that love isn't genuine and it's not real the way that God intended it. Dare I say, that's why homosexual sex is not fruitful. It can't be, can it? Because you can't have children arise from it. So that's not true love. And then faithful, of course, is a married couple are faithful to one another, and they don't share that very deep intimacy that comes from conjugal love with anybody else. So that's why sex out of marriage is wrong. It's a lie. It's not true, faithful love. Okay, there isn't the commitment there that two make to one another. So, what is true agape love? Again, it's free, it's total, it's fruitful, and it's faithful.